What's happening? This is Ryan Dawkins, and you're tuning in to The LOFT.
Have brought out the best of me.
But dude, welcome to the pod, man. I appreciate it, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah, dude. So like I said before, like, I've been a big fan of like your work and the culture you're able to curate and create. So like, I just wanted to chop your brain and kind of, ask you some questions, learn a bit more about you, have a conversation, and But yeah. So you're born in Philly. You're from Philly?
Born and raised in Vermont, actually.
Vermont.
Yeah, I've been here. This is gonna be my 20 years of Philly in August. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What brought you to Philly?
I went to Temple, so that was like the draw, but I knew Philly as a musical city, as an artistic city. And I've been playing and producing and engineering and whatnot since I was like 13 years old, basically. So I wanted to pursue music. Didn't exactly know how at the time. I was the 7th grade DJ, but I didn't realize quite what the DJ world was unfolding as. So I just knew Philly as like this artistic city.
Yeah.
Got into Temple, saw they had like a recording program.
Yeah. Would you first off, I'm a fellow Al, so I appreciate
right on.
So T for Temple, you brother.
Yep.
What did you study over at Temple?
So I went to the business school because I had
you were in Fox.
Yeah, I was at Fox. And I've always been like entrepreneurial, and but I knew like if I just went straight for recording, I wouldn't necessarily like build the skill sets to fall back on professionally. So I wanted to go to business school, get the entrepreneurship skills dialed.
Right.
But I also saw they had like a program in Brazil, and so that was kind of like a secondary motive to go to Temple, to be honest. So yeah, diverse program. Business was the focus, but I did the audio, the BTMM, I think it's called. So the audio recording. Met a lot of people, obviously.
You did all that in Brazil, like for study abroad?
I did one semester.
Oh, that's sick. I did an LA program similar to that. So being in Brazil, you probably got exposed to so much culture. I'm sure that inspired some of your stuff. So what did you go to Brazil for? What was like your purpose to go out there?
To experience Brazil.
Check it out.
Yeah, I went in 2010, I guess, 2009, 2010, right around there. And I basically stacked up a bunch of credits and then found some left my what do you call them? Electives, right.
Yeah.
So I was doing like capoeira. I was doing like drawing class or something. And I had like one really hard class, like macroeconomics, that like absolutely destroyed my soul. But especially in Portuguese, I was like, what is happening here? But other than that, I was like studying language, met a bunch of people, got further in the music scene, kind of discovered like the more like global house scene. 'Cause Philly had, I was like familiar with like the Shakedown, Deep House. Pex was on my radar, so kind of the burner house, but there wasn't really like tech house, Latin house, that kind of thing. And so that was just starting to boom a bit like internationally. And that's where I like went to like a bigger club for the first time and was like, wow, this is something like different than I've ever experienced,
It blew your mind. And so wait, and how long were you there for a semester, right?
Yeah, just like 5-6 months. Yeah,
it's pretty solid though. So when you came back, you were just like, oh, I'm gonna try to bring this back to Philly. Like, was that like your intention? You were just like, because you got exposed to a whole new culture. So what was your mindset coming back? You're like, oh, I'm gonna see what I can do with this, like, and come back home.
Yeah, so I actually linked up with a bunch of like international students. I became friends. It was weird, like coming to Philly as a guy from Vermont. I was sort of like an outsider a bit, just different culture and whatnot. So like my natural like friend group became this like very international crew. and a guy from Denmark, Ethiopia, and then further down the line, like the Middle East, Nigeria, and then a couple good friends were Eritrean and Jamaican, and we formed this like collective called World Town. She was like, let's call it World Town. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. And she's like, I want you and Femi. This is a young lady named Karen Linton, still very good friends. She said, I want you and Femi, who's the guy I had just recently connected with, to play this party called World Town. You guys are gonna DJ do your thing. I was kind of like housey, but I got back from Brazil, so I was playing like Bali funk karaoke vibes. A little bit of like, UK funky was kind of coming out, but there wasn't like the social media stuff.
Right.
So it was like this really like obscure thing. Like when I'd like talk about like Radio 1, BBC, there's only like a couple people that would be like, oh, that's the shit,
Yeah, no one understood it yet.
So, linked up with Femi, he came to my place at the time and started looking through my records, and he's like, you have a Fela record? He's like, that's my people, like classic Afro beats. So we kind of connected on like international sounds, stayed in touch when I was in Brazil. And then when I got back, Karen was like, I want you guys to play this party called World Town. We're like, all right, cool, sounds great. And it was like wild, one of those Patterson Palace spots. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, on Cecil B?
Yeah.
It's like a banquet hall, but like no one's over like 20 years old, basically, just total mosh.
Yeah.
The mirrors, it was like mirrored walls. They were all like fogged up, so we had like 3 different sound systems like patched together. It was just such a mosh.
Yeah.
But so that went off, and then we started doing like these club nights, and then that like transformed into like when I opened my studio in 2011. I started recording musicians, and I was like, okay, I want a live bass on this track. I want a vocalist. And then next thing you know, I'm hanging out at the Boom Room down in Fishtown. Yeah. They were doing this thing called Music Church, which was every Sunday night like a songwriting forum kind of jam.
Yeah.
But they would like limit, they wouldn't let the jam go on forever. So they'd say, okay, that idea is done. Everybody switch. So new bassist, new drummer, new singers could step up, and it was like this crazy, random but like amazing songwriting thing.
Yeah. Would there be something done at the end of it?
Well, he would just record it like with overheads, and then he'd have like 50 song ideas, and he's probably produced a bunch of records out of it.
Wow.
But I became friends with Gary Dan, the owner. Shout out to Gary. And then his partner in crime, Jules, who was playing bass. And that's when I was like, Jules, I need a bass player for this song, and he came over, and then it was like, oh, this would be cool if we did this live. And then all of a sudden we had this concept, World Town Sound System, which was like a live version. So
yeah. And so you've been producing for the past, however long, so I guess 15 years, 10,
right
around that time. So have you noticed a big like shift in how producing is now compared to how it was when you were doing it in 2011?
I mean, it's a bit more like vision focused now. Before it was more like experimental.
Right.
Like, I wonder what would happen if we got X instrument and this like Bulgarian singer and made it electro or something, like, and just like, ooh, what does this sound like? Okay, I don't know, but let's try this, and just like going through it, versus now is like, all right, cool, I'm playing this kind of event, I have this acapella that I like, I want to make it in this style, so it's a bit more like a little more logical, I guess.
Yeah. What do you love to put together today? What do you love to like produce today and put together?
I mean, I've been doing like a lot of edits, so like, familiar-ish acapellas or, melodies or whatever.
Right.
And then flip them in a way that like translates to like, specifically like Departed parties. So
yeah. I wanted to get into your Departed parties. I mean, dude, I want to know the history and the lore and kind of what got you inspired to start that, because like I've seen some of your senior parties, and I've seen what you've been able to do with them, and I appreciate the culture you're able to curate, right? I think a curate is a big word.
Right.
I just, like I said, I'm really fascinated by that, and and how you're able to create that familiarity with every party. Like, they know when it's a Ben Arsenal Departed party, they know what the experience is going to be. So I'm curious as to like, what inspired you to start it, and kind of how you got that moving. Yeah,
for sure. So like you said, it's like culture, right? So that's always been like one of my like core, I guess, like interests in like words of purpose, you know what I mean? Like same with World Town was like, how do we bring this like awesome music that's not here but it's elsewhere and create a space that is here,
right,
that we can enjoy it. So same thing with Departed. It was coming out of pandemic, started throwing parties with the Rogue Crew, Darian, shout out to June, RIP, and we would do these like forest renegade parties basically. And man, it was crazy, the energy coming out of pandemic. People were so thirsty for something new,
right?
And there was some like shift in interest that I found like fascinating, where before it was almost like people wanted the DJ to feed them something that they knew that they could sing along to. And then during the pandemic there was like this like massive psychological shift of like, give me something that I want to hear that I don't know, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think it was a mix of social media, boiler room, loneliness, like the social dynamics shifting. But with all that said, when the pandemic wrapped up and place started opening up, we were doing these kind of like outdoor parties and really feeding that, and like networking, meeting new people, making new friends, friend groups, whatever. And it kind of all happened at the same time. That the social dynamic shifted. I had like a record deal with Sony France that like I thought was going to be my like.
I remember this from your post,
right? And
you and that was like your big rude awakening. You said, right?
Yeah. I thought we were gonna, I thought I was gonna make it, and like boom, we're gonna be signed, and then from there things escalate, right? And then that fell through, and I was also kind of like studying like other successful like DJ artists, whatever, and I was watching, I think it was like Steve Aoki's documentary actually. I was just like, okay, what did this guy do? Because he's obviously like charismatic, like entertainer. That's not necessarily how I like see myself, but he must have done something. And what I realized is he like threw parties and like built his like circle around those parties, and the culture around those parties. So I was like, okay, so here's the opportunity. All right, the sound is shifting a bit. People want more like electronic, with the global curiosity kind of interwoven in there. So, all right, we have this venue. I had this opportunity with this warehouse venue a friend of mine owned, and I'd kind of been holding it off. I wasn't really ready, so I didn't want to rush anything. And then by the time pandemic was kind of cooling down, I was like, all right, now's the time.
Right.
And so I was like, let's make the ultimate experience, immersive, very artsy, inclusive, kind of showcase vibe, put other people on, and that's how it.
Yeah. And that deal that didn't go through, you said that was like the factor that really started everything for you, right? Like what made you kind of lean into that, like the start that Departed, and like kind of lean into like the parties and stuff like that, right?
Definitely one of them for sure.
Yeah.
So it was I realized that like nobody's gonna build it for you, what I mean? And even if I did get that signed, like what would that really mean? For sure. Yeah. And then B, it's time to just take control, what I mean? And so
I think I like to use the word entrepreneur. I try to keep it as friendly as possible for everyone listening, right? It's like for people like us and like entrepreneurs, like I do find that there's a period in everyone's life where they're like, like I'm tired of waiting, kind of have to like step into your own a little bit,
right?
And I'm curious too, because when you started this party, like what are some steps you took to kind of get people in the door, right? Because you have this great immersive experience that you have in your head that you're bringing to life. So what did you do to kind of get people to be like, all right, like, I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to be a part of this. Like, what were some things you did to kind of get like the ball rolling, I guess you could say?
I mean, I like personally just talked to everybody that I could possibly think of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like, it's funny. It's like you almost have to go into this like manic, like obsessive, like phase to like as a startup.
Right.
You have to just like put everything into it. Yeah. Especially to get the like critical momentum, and that was like a couple years of that, really, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I still work on Departed basically in one way or another almost every day, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So
Absolutely.
but in the beginning especially, it's like taking that time to like really like flush out the idea, talk to people, because you need like community buy-in kind of, you know what I mean? And so I like called in a lot of favors for sure.
Yeah.
That was like, you know, being around for like what, 10 years, 15 years at that point. So it was like, hey, I've been there for you. You know, you think you can like show up? I'll get you, you know, I'll get you a ticket. No problem. Just like show some love, you know?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And like I said, I love that. I love the hustle and like the hustle culture. Because sometimes it become like unhealthy a little bit, but like I feel like when it's something you're passionate about, something you think about every single day, like it all just feeds into itself. And so, you know, when that deal didn't go through and you took this leap, right?
Right.
Do you feel now that it sort of that paid off, or like, do you feel like everything happens for a reason? Is that a mindset you kind of have, you know, with all that going in the mind and things you kind of like been through and overcame?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when things happen the easy way, then it's easy to, you know, like expect them to continue that way. You know what I mean? And it's also easy to just get comfortable. And I think like, you know, change happens when things are not comfortable. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when there is like a big hurdle to overcome. So, I mean, it was, you know, it was definitely like, that was rough, you know, getting that news. It's like, I guess this isn't happening, you know, because you get all excited, you know, it's like, man, that was like 5 years ago. So I'd been, you know, had a studio for what, 8 years at that point, or 9 years. So it was like, oh, all these hours of, you know, hard work is finally starting to make sense. And then
where's your mindset at now? I'm so curious because like I said, you just, you know, I love stories where people are challenged and they find the positives in them and they overcome them. So what are some of the things you told yourself, you know, or so, I guess my question is now, looking now, right, 2026, what are some of the things you've learned from that experience and like from the experience you have now, that you've really taken with you? Like, what are some things you've learned along the way? You know, you mentioned you're having the studio for 8 years and you're like, oh, like this is gonna be my time to pay off, and all of a sudden it doesn't happen. Right. It all pays off in itself. But like, my question to you is like, what are some things that you really live by that like that stay true to you and what have really carried you through your career so far?
I mean, just like, I think one thing is like making sure that like collaboration is like at the core, and like showing that like respect. You know, I've definitely like slipped on giving people credit at certain times, and that's not out of like, you know, intentional screw you or anything, but like that is like if I were to make like a playbook for like, you know, musicians and DJs just starting, it's like give credit where credit's due kind of thing, and collaborate and like really try to bring something to the table. Because I think a lot of people, you know, they come and they say, hey, you know, can you book me? Can you put me on? And it's like, cool, but have you like done your own homework? Have you like really spent the time? Have you like built your name? Have you spent the time like researching your sound, like producing, learning all that stuff? So those are definitely key. Yeah,
all that funnels back into like doing it yourself, right? Like, you know, not waiting for the moment, but creating it. And so, you know, with all that being said and the career you've had so far, we'll dive back into that a little bit, but I really want to get into like, it's your family. I'm curious because you're from Vermont, you've been in Philly for 20 years.
Right.
I'm curious about your family dynamic. What's you have siblings, a family. What are family values something you hold strong to, and what are some things that really you hold strong as like an individual, as like Ben? You know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like my dad's side is very entrepreneurial. He's an art collector and dealer, and that definitely was like a big part of like growing up and going to, you know, Australia and China a couple times and seeing these like super foreign places and experiencing, you know, art from a different lens, you know what I mean? But he's very like grassroots, do it yourself. You know, I would help him with like trade shows growing up. So it's like, all right, nice. Get in the truck, you know, we're going, and call your boy, because you need to unpack this like huge truck, and you know, I'm gonna wake you up at 4 a.m. because we got to be in there by 7 or something.
Right.
You know, I was like these insane things, and it's as rough as they are, they're also like, it like reminds me of myself like now, kind of, because it's even like when we just did Toronto for the first time.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And it was like a small, you know, it was a small show, much smaller than Philly, but it was like, all right, we found this cool venue. They're like open-minded. Ended up linking with this this DJ producer I loved for a long time, Sis, this like Turkish guy who used to live in Berlin.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of like made sense, but it was like flashback to like my childhood where I had like my lady, her sister, and then like a pile of art in the car, and we could like barely move, but it's like, no, we need to bring everything, you know?
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's amazing. So like, you know what, it's so funny because like in the moment you do hate those things, but you appreciate them more, right? Like,
right.
You know, having the hustle, and because it puts it all in perspective for you. It's like that work you put in, and you know what I mean? And like, it's funny as my dad, like it's a little bit different, but like growing up, like my dad made me do all the chores, right? Made me mow the lawn, mow my neighbor's lawn, and they also own the house next to them. So I did 3 houses in one day, and it's like you're just doing the things you don't want to do, but I think you learn a lot as a man from that stuff.
Right.
And so like, you know, doing the Toronto show, you had to, so did you pack all the decorations, and did you pack all that up? Like, how did that process
I mean, we packed like basically like, you know, a good like couple boxes, you know what I mean? But it's a lot when you have your, you know, a couple people and you know, personal stuff. And
you got a good team around you?
Yeah. Got a great team in Philly. The production team's awesome. Shout out to Steve and Mario, Kevin, Dan. All these guys are ace, rock solid, and you know, like over the years have built like awesome like friendships and relationships with like other people in the scene. So working with the Pex crew, Shakedown, Goody, the Fold Theory crew, we're doing like a Copal, you know, we call it Electric Soul in July. So yeah, it's awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, you mentioned your dad kind of embedding in you to work hard.
Right.
Is that stuff, I mean, obviously it's still stuff you hold true today, but what are some of the things that like, you know, you've learned the most from your family, that, you know, you've kind of applied into your, like I said, into everything now?
Yeah. I mean, like work hard, show respect, maintain good health, and go for it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and like, what are some, like, when it comes to seeing the growth, right? So when did you really start to see growth of like the Ben Arsenal, the Departed brand? Like, when did you really start to see like, all right, like this is paying off, like this is really, you know, cooking, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even from the first event, to be honest, it was like, okay, you know, now this is like I guess a brand and like a platform that people are like excited about. And that's huge, you know, having like people interested in being a part of it, you know what I mean? Because it's everything from, you know, obviously DJs want to DJ, performers want to perform, artists want to show their work. So it's awesome when it's like something that people are like genuinely excited to be a part of. So I mean, it's not, I haven't had like a wow, like this one moment went viral, you know? It's like overnight success is taking 10 years, you know?
Exactly. It's the consistency.
Honestly, it's just consistency. And people come and people go, and you know, the goal is to like just make it like as like fluid and least stressful as possible, put on great people, support, you know, try to collaborate upwards. And
absolutely, I always say the people at the top collaborate, the people at the bottom compete, and like, you know, I truly believe in that. And
I love that.
You know, I truly believe in also being inspired by other cultures, and also like kind of exploring those, right? So I know you're a big traveler. I know you've moved around a little bit. I was in Punta Cana and Costa Rica the past like month, and like seeing that side of the world is such a different thing. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I'm so curious as to like some cultures you've experienced and been a part of that have really inspired you in what you're able to do today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everybody, you know what I mean? Which is kind of the goal, is like to bring like global culture to one central place.
Right.
I mean, I definitely like encourage people all the time, like get your passport and don't make excuses, you know.
Yeah.
'Cause it's awesome, like especially when you start making friends, you know, like
dude. Yeah.
The last couple years have been crazy. I've been around Africa, South Asia, Europe a bit, and you know, you just meet these people and get, especially like for DJs and musicians, it's like you're getting these sets from like totally unknown people in these little like small rooms, but they're killer, and there's some great sounds and stuff that you never heard. And you know, I did this like mini tour in France a couple years ago and played a gig. I did some work with this Moroccan group, and they basically had me like open for them at 2 shows. And so I went over and I played in, the second one was in Marseille, and it was like this small club. They crushed it. I got to DJ after them, so it was like sort of transitioning into the nightlife segment, and it was cool. And then the DJs that came on after were all like, you know, probably under 1,000 followers each or whatever, but their sets were so sick, you know. And I was just like, what is this track? What is this track? You know, because you're getting that, you know, it's just like a very different part of the world. You're getting like the North African, the Mediterranean, the one of them was Spanish, I think, so you got like a Spanish crossover, just crazy. Crazy.
And what really, so what, I'm curious, so like, obviously, you know, I knew you move around, and you know, and so getting into those rooms, you know, what are some things you've done to really get yourself in those rooms? You mentioned like, you know, going to, you know, to Paris and all these other places. So what are some things you've done to like get yourself into those rooms to get those sets into there?
I mean, with that one specifically was like, ended up in Morocco, like did a, you know, cold outreach to the studio, and I was just like, look, I'm gonna be here, like basically just traveling on vacation, but I have a few days. I was in Essaouira, you know, here's my work, you know, would you be down to collaborate? I'll like book some studio time. Are there musicians? You know, I'm open, whatever. And then I got this like FaceTime randomly like a week later, and it's this guy, Momo Africa. I'm like, it's like a French number, so I thought it might have been some family or something. So I like pick it up, and he's like, yo bro, it's Momo Africa. I'm like, what the fuck? And he was like so cool, you know what I mean? He's just excited, he was like, he was just like stoked, and he was like, I'm in France, but this is my boy Yassine. He's like waiting for your call. Hit him up, see what's up. And so I texted him, and he's like, yo, just come through, we're waiting for you, brother. I was like, okay, that's awesome. You know what I mean?
You're like, sick, I'll be there in 30.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, a week or two later, whatever it was, ended up, hey, just we're here tomorrow at this time, come. And it was like one of those things, like kind of vetting. So we like hung out for like a couple hours, and then the next day he's like, all right, come back tomorrow and you'll meet the master. So I like go back and meet the master, and then like the third day, once I kind of got through, you know, it was like, okay, we have like a good vibe together, I guess. It's like, all right, we can record. What do you want to do?
That's awesome.
And so it was like, but just making those calls, you know, shooting the shot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
You fail, you know, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, and I remind myself that, because I'm still like, you know, dealing with stuff with labels where they say, yeah, we got you, we love this track, boom, like instant response. I'm like, damn, that was fast, awesome, fuck yeah, I've always wanted to be on this label. And then like 2 weeks later, like, no, actually, like the management's changing, and they're like, want to go a different direction. I'm just like, yeah, what the fuck, you know what I mean? And it's like still happening, you know what I mean? Even though, and so it's
such a weird thing, because like I feel like you have so much experience in it, and like you're like, guys, like, because it's funny, because you know what it is, like, you know how valuable it is, but you're like, just fucking put it on the label, you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't want to like tell people what their creative direction should be, but it's like, it was like one of these things where it's like, all right, this is a collaboration with a dope international artist. Here's a video of me playing it at the club, and the club like
loving
going off. Like, it was like one of the best like original music moments, you know, like captured on tape of my career. So it's like, all right, you know, you know, but you can't get mad at them, you know what I mean? Because it's like, like creativity is so like weird, you know,
subjective,
it's like so subjective, it's so personal, so you can only like, again, just take it into your own hands, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so that's like it's like 2.0 of the label thing for me. That just happened like last week, and I was just like, yo, are you serious right now?
That's insane. So when that does happen, what do you tell yourself?
I'm one failure closer to succeeding, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because yeah.
Absolutely. There's this
you almost have to be like ignorant, you know what I mean? You have to like just almost be numb and just like, all right, well, we're closer.
Exactly. You just push through no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
because it's crazy.
I know. I feel like you're reliving it right now.
Oh my God. It was just like one of those weeks where you get like, it's just like that, and then like a couple other just like boom, 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 and you're just like, all right, you know.
You know what though? That does happen in the opposite direction.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel blessed. Like I've honestly, since like 2020, 2021, like had so many wins. So I'm like reminding myself that like, all right, it's just like, you know, a couple steps back, we'll go many steps forward.
Yeah, it gets really tough, especially in this industry that you feel like, because you're only as good as the last thing you've done, right?
Right.
And the one thing I saw online, like, it was very simple, but I thought it was really effective to me. It was like, if you were told you were gonna, the 40th time you failed, you were the next one was gonna be a success. How much harder would you go? How many times would you fail to get to that point? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't really know, you know, how many times it is until that thing, you know, till you make it, right? Till you hit that one success. And the one thing I find the strongest force in the world is momentum, right? So when you start picking up the momentum and you got those first few wins, you try to capitalize and build on them. And the one thing I've also learned about the failures, you know, I kind of had this recently in my mind where like, I kind of feel like everything's going wrong, and you're just like, why is this not happening or this not happening? And it's like, you take it to yourself and you just like, you know what, let me just step away. I call it the slingshot, right?
Right.
You pull yourself back and you launch yourself even further when you come back. And I just told myself to, like, the past like few months, I was like, let me just reset, and just like, because the world wasn't like, in my mind it was, right? Because we're perfectionists, and it's like, you want everything to go perfect. It's like, when it doesn't, it's like all right, let me just reset and then come back with something great, and you know, let the world see it, and you'll put the time in, you know? And that's like kind of what this year has kind of been so far. And for you, I'm curious, is like, having those successes and having the success you've had since, you know, 2021, since COVID, what are some of the things you kind of keep on the back of your mind that allows you to keep the momentum, allows you to compound the wins? What are some values you have in your life, whether it's as an entrepreneur, as a human? Like, what are some things you really value that keep you, like, you know, connected and keep you moving?
Just like faith that it's going to continue in the right direction, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, there's no like one specific thing, but you know, the ebbs and the flows, right? So, you know, it's interesting too, because there's like, obviously like the high seasons, and especially in Philly, there's the low, you know, winter is obviously super slow, and then summer can be pretty slow. I think the summer is going to be different because of like all the World Cup stuff and Philly 250 and all that. But, you know, I have a hard time like pausing and like relaxing and just being like, you know what, it's gonna, we'll get to it in like a couple weeks or something, just like time to relax. So that's something I'm working on, is just like allowing like stillness, you know what I mean? Without feeling like anxious, like I have to produce something or you know, put something out, because it's not about volume, it's about quality, right?
Absolutely.
So
it is such a common thing. I feel the same thing. It's like, no matter what you do yesterday, it's like, I gotta do this thing, I do that. It's like, the one thing that that's important is,
well, consistency too, but
exactly,
but not necessarily like volume. So
exactly, having good consistency. And like, you know, I've been like just telling myself, like, you know, sometimes it's when you have things planned out ahead of time, right? You plan things out ahead of time, give yourself that time in between to do the things, to rest and reset. And so what are some things that Ben does that, you know, helps you reset, or kind of keeps you in that grounded mindset and not the go?
I mean, travel is one of them. 'Cause even when you're doing nothing, you know, like nothing, you're still like exploring, or
for sure,
you know, feel like some sort of like exploration of like the new culture, new space, whatever. And then just like exercise, honestly, that's like, even if I'll have like a shit day, I'll be like, let's go get a good workout in, and then just sweat it out, and then at least like you feel like you got a good workout in, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, do you run at all?
I've been doing more like CrossFit kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
that's
I was gonna say I have my run club coming up. You should get in there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we do it at Morgan's Pier twice a month.
Oh right.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 miles.
All right.
Nothing.
I can do that. Yeah.
Let's go. Ben Arsel's in the run club. Let's
go. When is it?
So the first one gonna be April 28th, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah, April 28th, and then I have 2 in May, and then 2 in June, July, August.
All right.
So it'll be cool. I'll say we're gonna announce it soon. So
yeah. Keep me in the loop for sure.
It's just something that builds community, and you know, and one of the things that you do really well is community as well. And I'm so curious, just like as like a student of the game, what are some things that you've really like done with your brand and your career that has kept that community? Because like every time I see you having a party, it just grows and grows and grows.
Right. I mean, I think like one of the important things is like, especially in like nightlife, is being very proactive about like announcing the like consent policy. And so basically, shout out to Shanae Pitts. We had this like long going conversation about like safety in nightlife, and so we developed this thing we call the party contract. So participate, ask, I should probably know the rest, but there's like 5 points, and it's all about excuse me, like being present, asking, before touching people, taking care of yourself, showing respect, and why is yes means yes, no means no. So even if someone doesn't say yes, it doesn't mean yes, kind of thing. And we were very inspired by like the whole like Burning Man principles of like inclusivity and like the whole consent kind of mindset, where we want, especially house music, it's like a form of kind of a rebellion in a way that it's meant to be the soundtrack for self-expression. And so you really want people to come as they want to be perceived. They want and can feel really open and liberated, because that's like the whole kind of like mantra of it. And with that, like protect them so that they can feel open to be themselves in a respectful way, of course,
right?
But that there won't be any harassment, that there won't be any like like groping and that kind of thing. And as the project's grown, we've had to deal with like certain individuals where they end up getting like kicked out, unfortunately, and then it's like there's a whole like process, which is unfortunately like a bit complicated, but it's kind of comes with the territory of like maintaining safe space. So you do emphasize the curation of the culture and the rules, I guess you could say, for when you are at the part of the event. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we like have this whole like signage thing. We try to promote it, and like from our marketing side, like here's the party contract. And yeah, I mean it's so important, because it's
absolutely, we
want people to come as their best selves, and we want people to feel like free. Right. So that's going to create the best environment for everybody.
Absolutely.
And that energy that's shared is like, you can't have, like, I just don't like it when people feel like restrained.
Absolutely.
And like not able to be themselves, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so.
Yeah, because that good energy is intoxicating, right?
For sure.
When it's a good environment.
It's amazing. Yeah.
What do you do about the phones? I was watching some DJ sets last night, like just on the internet. I love to surf and just watch sets from like, they're good. From like Ibiza and stuff like that. Like, I'm just so curious. Like, what do you do with the phones, man? Like when people are filming and all that stuff. Do you have a policy on that, or just kind of like?
I mean, it's like a bit of a catch-22, because you want people to be present, but at the same time, like people recording, moments at the party is like kind of promoting the party.
For sure.
So it's like you can't really, we're trying to continue growing. That's the goal. It's not like to be the biggest party in the world or anything, but like we do, want to keep growing, and so it's you gotta let people kind of like
let them rock it.
Yeah, let them rock it.
Yeah. Reason why I brought it up, because like I was watching a Hugh Gell set last night at High Ibiza.
Oh, it's nuts, right?
And it was just like, it was a sea of phones, and I'm like, no one's dancing and moving. I'm like, dude, I'm like, come on, man. Like, if all right, my whole thing is like, I get it. If you want to record like 10 seconds to say you were there, that's one thing. 'Cause you're paying a ticket, but like the whole set,
right.
Like I was watching, it was like an hour and a half set, and these people are still got their phones out. I'm like, God, they just didn't dance at that point. Like, you know what I mean?
We'll probably, eventually. Actually, I hope not. I was gonna say eventually, maybe we'll do like a no phones thing, and maybe we will. But I hope we don't get to the point where it's like so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want people. You know how it is as a DJ. It's like you want people dancing with you,
of course,
and you want like that human interaction. It's not just like behind the screen.
Yeah, because you're feeding off of that crowd. It's what's helping you choose the next 5 songs, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, with your events and the curation of it and the rules and the vibes. So, and that's all stuff you've accumulated over the years. What's something you've learned? Like I said, I love to dig into people's whys and like what and the things that they learn along the way, because I always look at like my 16-year-old self. Like Brian Dawkins taught me that when I had him on, and he just like, dude, because I was, dude, like, you just had your Hall of Fame speech, like, congrats. He's like, dude, I'm just me when I was 16 years old. I still look at myself when I'm 16, and the one thing I'm curious about is like, do you ever reflect back on like when you first started and the things you've learned along the way, and just like how far you've come? I think a lot of times we're in this culture where we're not able to reflect. So is there ever times where you kind of remain present and kind of reflect on the things you've done to get to the point you're at now?
I mean, part of like what birthed Departed was this like desire to create like the ultimate like experience, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that like really started when I was like 16. So I had just started like, I was doing more stuff with music, but I was also like always trying to get friends together and create these spaces, and so that sort of like is a result of that. But yeah, I mean, I should spend more time thinking about that, because there's a lot to be grateful for sure.
Yeah, something that I just think I've been thinking about recently, just because like, a lot of times you get in the everyday stresses of like life, just like trying to grow and build yourself up, and it's like, you know what, dude, like you've done a lot, like you've done really well, and I think it's always good for people to give each other themselves grace, and so and kind of transitioning into that a little bit. I know your dad mentioned, he kind of taught you hard work and stuff like that.
Right.
Is there stuff that, any of your other family members have taught you, or anything like growing up that you've learned that have kind of been instilled in you as like, kind of the curator, the DJ, the entrepreneur you are today? Is there anything like growing up from your childhood that you've learned, and some more things that like, anyone specifically taught you or just kind of like shown you?
I mean, my mother's like a big, like respect and kind of like ethics figure in my life, you know what I mean? So that's, I try my best to make the right choices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she also has like the social gene, so it's like, I think that's where I get the ability to like, navigate like certain EQ situations, different people, because it's a lot of characters, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love it, but sometimes it's like, all right, let's just like, you got to kind of back up and be like, okay, this reaction is not about what it's coming off as face value, you know what I mean? And just that kind of ability to navigate, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Is there, and throughout your time traveling, is there cultures that you've like, the word culture shock, is there anything that you've like, any culture shock you've had? I know for me, like recently being in Costa Rica, like it was so cool, like driving a buggy up the mountain, like you can't do that in Philly, obviously. Right. But it's like, is there even like any culture shock you've had that have like, that's really stuck with you, like, when you came back?
I mean, everywhere has like, has their own quirks, and like I spent a lot of time in Thailand, and it's like a super peaceful, respectful, culture, rooted in like Buddhism. Been to Ethiopia a couple times over the last couple of years. That's got its like quirks, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, there's like every country has like their little things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Did you ever go to Japan?
I haven't been to Japan.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, definitely. Been to China a couple times.
Hell yeah. For work or just vacation?
That was China was with my father actually for his work. So
nice. Hell yeah. And so, you obviously you're home now. You've been traveling all over the world. You've done a lot in your work. What's something that will ultimately give you that fulfillment? Like, what really gives you fulfillment?
At the end of a good night, it's just like seeing the reaction, like people having a great time, you know what I mean? Because I think it's like something that I've struggled with a couple times, like over the last like 10 years of like purpose, you know what I mean? And like, why am I doing this? And obviously like I want to, play music for people. That's like a passion, but it's like, what is that really doing for the world? And then, the realization of like bringing joy and like this positive message is actually like a contribution to society, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
something I've been thinking about a lot recently is like realizing why people step into these rooms, right? Like if you're playing at like somewhere in the city or you're doing an event, like I've just really honed in on like, why is somebody buying this ticket? Why is somebody going out to hear you play? It's like everyone's there for a different reason, and that sometimes that's enough. You know what I mean? Just playing, making sure everyone has a good time, curating that experience. I just realized that that's enough. It doesn't matter if there's 5 people or 500 people. It's like that's enough. I think a lot of times you kind of get lost in the weeds with stuff, and like, yeah, man, you're just creating a world for someone to live in, and I think it's like been super important. Just even as DJs or just entrepreneurs, like no matter what we're doing, right? If we're doing a run club or doing a yoga class, or you're doing anything like that, you're just creating a world someone can live in, and it's super important to remember that.
Right.
But yeah, so like, so what kept you in Philly? Let me ask you this. So we kind of got into all over the world. We talked about all over the world. What's kept you in Philly? What's kept you drawn to that world, and even like having you build something like Departed in Philly?
I mean, it was just like graduating. I had like just enough momentum to like scrape by kind of thing. And so I was like, all right, well, I have my like, my start here. I was like, I was playing at this restaurant in Rittenhouse Square. Yeah. And it was like just enough to pay rent, you know what I mean? And that was like every Friday, and it was, I was like, all right, so that gives me enough time to avoid having to like really have like a 9 to 5.
Right.
So fortunately I've like avoided a 9 to 5.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But then you pick up like, odd jobs here and there to make it work, but yeah, the ability to just kind of like pursue the dream, I guess, has been it. Yeah. And now it's just like, okay, now we're at this point, what does the future look like? What is the possibility? Is there like, like the focus this year has been more on like, trying to get the start in other cities, which is like, that's the hard part. You know what I mean? Getting the start in Philly is like difficult, but there was already like the organic roots, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which when you have like community and friends, it's like, it's actually like pretty fun, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then in other cities, it's like, okay, who are the people that we got to like talk to, and how do you like make it work strategically? And
it's almost like starting from zero again, almost, right?
Yeah, as basically, like unknown, but then people see Depart and they're like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. So you kind of have something to work off of.
For sure. Are you a Eagles fan? You follow sports
by default, of course.
Good. Nice. Yeah. Yes. Are you?
I love the passion that Philly has for their teams.
It's unrivaled.
It's great. Yeah. It's great. It's great.
What did you do for the Super Bowl when we won?
I was on Broad Street.
Were you really?
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
We watched it down at a good friend's place down in South Philly. And then their neighbors set up like a projector in like a local park there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I was, it's like classic, just like moms and dads and the kids and neighbors, and everybody's just like making sandwiches and like drinking, and
dude,
it's
the
hilarious.
South Philly vibe, there's nothing like it, right?
It's
Like,
great.
even like do you go like on New Year's Day? Do you go like to 2nd Street and stuff?
So the last couple years I have, I did last year, just like stop by, but the flow that I tend to get sucked into is like the New Year's Eve gig and then the after party.
Right.
So we've been doing these, like, they've been pretty awesome, to be honest, with like the Goody and Subservice guys. We do the like warehouse party, and it's been a blast the last couple of years. So
hell yeah.
Yeah. So that, then you get home at 7 a.m.
It's tough to get up. Yeah.
I tend to like this past one I skipped because I was like traveling. We were traveling the next day, but the previous couple, we went down to 2nd Street, and
that's how
and it's a mess,
Yeah.
It's fun though.
I love it. It's all chaos. Yeah, man, that was a crazy time. Like the South Philly culture just is so different, bro. Like I remember like
it's so funny
on New Year's Day, like I'll go down to 2nd Street and people are like welcoming me in their houses to eat their food. It's nuts.
It's so funny.
Yeah, we're gonna do like Mummers or something like that.
Have I?
Yeah. Have you ever thought about it?
So I DJ'd a couple times with the Lobster Club.
Did you really?
The Red Claw Outlaws. Yeah, those my good friends. Yeah, for sure.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's back of like, I forget. I think it was like on the back of a U-Haul or something.
Yeah, it's how the usual rig. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, dude. So like I said, like I appreciate you coming on the pod so much and just chopping it up, dude. And like,
definitely.
I love everything you've built, and just like you're just like learning about your methodology and like the things like that you like, the respect, the culture, even like the rules of play, right? And I think a lot of people can use that stuff just even for their own life and in general, right?
I hope so.
And so I want to ask you a few more questions, and like my question to you is like everything you've done now. So what would really give you like the satisfaction, and is there anything that like you would chase that maybe is outside of DJing that would like really fulfill you in like your own life? I know obviously business never really ends, right? You want to grow to be as big as you can be, right? That's like, it's like
right.
Every businessman, entrepreneur, right? But is there anything like outside of that you really enjoy or that would really like kind of fulfill you?
Yeah, I mean, starting a family, philanthropy, giving back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hope like with the projects that I've done that like inspires other people to like include like the consent contract kind of stuff in their work.
Yeah.
And kind of like raise the bar a bit for the city, because I think Philly has the like raw energy, but I feel what's lost sometimes is like the bigger picture, and people get caught up in these like smaller things where it's like, just like develop your shit a little bit, you know what I mean? Like think about this seriously, like there's a lot of talent here, but it's I want to just like see people step up a bit more, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I agree. It does, things do get lost in the weeds a little bit,
and it's hard. It's like not easy, and not everybody has like the knack of like like entrepreneurship, for lack of better words, is like a dozen skill sets, you know what I mean? So
that's a really good point, actually, and that's something I definitely wanted to hit on with you, because as someone who's so ingrained in the Philly culture, it's like I hate when people say that Philly nightlife is dying or it's dead. I don't believe that.
I don't think so.
I think people just need something to experience, and like the phones, the scrolling, all that shit. Like people are dying for something to experience. They're dying for something to go to that they know is going to be a good time. People get lost in the repetition and the concept of going to maybe the same places, right? And it's like sometimes you need to put a little something different in those places, or do something new. And it's like, and people get excited about that shit. Like everyone's looking for something to do. I just hate the slander of like that Philly nightlife is dead, because if anything, it's one of the strongest ones. Because I get guys from New York hit me up all the time to play at places in Philly, and I'm like, are you guys like have like boroughs, all these districts to play in, like they still want to come to Philly? Like these people love Philly. We got the Eagles, we got great parties, we got a lot of shit going on, especially we got 250, we got the World Cup, right? I just feel like you're absolutely right. Like Philly just needs people to step up and needs more experiences and stuff like that, and you know what I mean. That's honestly what I think too. So
yeah, I mean we have some solid venues. There's like, even compared to like 10 years ago, like the amount of like touring talent that's coming through is like night and day, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just, you know, I mean, New York's a different level, you know what I mean? It's like the population's 6 or 7 times more. There's a lot more money, resources, you know, so you can't really compare them, but Philly's got like grit, and that's why I really like it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
yeah, man, dude. Well, like I said, I appreciate you just coming on the podcast, and you know, I love your insight and love everything you've been doing, and you know, I'm excited to potentially work together in the future for some stuff. And you know, dude, like I said, is there I guess I'll end this on a cliche way, right? So a lot of people will be watching this because they love to see what you're doing, and they may be interested in like kind of who you are. That's kind of why I asked about family a little bit, because I'm like, yeah, I want, like, everyone sees your events, but sometimes it's good to learn pull the curtain back a little bit.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So what's some advice you would give to somebody? And it's like the most cliche thing ever. I hate to do this, but like, I feel like people watching, like, what's some advice you would give to someone who, like, you know, is interested in kind of building their own thing, or like kind of starting something up? And it could be whether in nightlife, it could be their regular job, it could be anything. So what's some advice that you've learned over the years about like persistence and consistency that, like, you know, someone could apply to their own life?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, like, the vision is key. Persistence is key. I think that's like one of my superpowers, is I get knocked down and get back up, you know?
Yep.
And that's tough. It's really like hard, but then also, like, especially in nightlife and being like an entrepreneur and doing your own thing, like, make sure to like put your health first, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's like, I didn't necessarily prioritize it for like a couple years, and then you just start getting weak, you know what I mean?
It catches up with you, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta like exercise and, like, you know, eat clean, and don't party too hard, you know what I mean?
Literally why I started Run Club, bro.
There you go. No,
I was like, I started last summer. I did it on a whim. I was like, dude, like, if I can somehow trick my mind into making it like work, or like just going out and like, you know, getting myself in shape to run and fall in love with it. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's just having health is everything, right?
For sure.
Especially with your longevity. It's like you've been able to have this longevity because of you taking care of your health. But yeah, but listen, man, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Well, listen, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Loft. I'm Kevin Nichols. That's Ben Arsenal. Peace, guys. Peace.